Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has been accused of not taking the fight against corruption seriously. The DA wants Mabuyane to address state capture-related matters in Nelson Mandela Bay. It also says financial instability and a lack of service delivery have been rife in the metro since the new leadership took over. Meanwhile, Mabuyane briefed the media this morning on several matters, and our reporter Ronald Masinda is following the story for us very closely, and he joins me now this morning. Ronald, the DA, of course, they flagged several concerns in Nelson Mandela Bay. What do they have to say about this? And maybe you can just elaborate on this whole story for us as well.
Okay, good morning, Baron. Well, according to the Democratic Alliance in the province, they say that they have been requesting for the Premier Oscar Mabuyane to establish a provincial commission of inquiry. They say that since the multi-coalition, the new one that consists of the EFF, the ANC, the Patriotic Alliance and the Northern Alliance that took over Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, that was on the 26th of May, that there's been issues of financial instability and a lack of service delivery. In fact, things descended into chaos during a special council meeting in the Metro last week. That was after Eugene Johnson, who is the Speaker of the House, said that she will withdraw one of the issues on the agenda, and this related to Gary van Niekerk, who is the mayor, who is been allegedly involved in fraudulent activity, and that dates back to 2022. This was after it was said that Van Niekerk had been using the paperwork, using the letterhead and signatory of the municipality to acquire the services of a law firm, and that over 550,000 rand was lost in the Metro during this time. But what we also understand is that the Democratic Alliance gave Oscar Mabuyane, the Premier, until the 29th of September to answer or to respond to the request. The DA could possibly now look at other avenues, such as going nationally, to try and address their grievances. This is what Andrew Wakefield, who is the DA leader in the province, had to say earlier.
Corruption has destroyed service delivery and created political instability in the city. The complex nature of the corruption and the criminal syndicates operating in Nelson Mandela Bay requires a focused approach by a commission of inquiry led by a judge to get to the bottom of the corruption once and for all and to dismantle these criminal syndicates. The cost of corruption in Nelson Mandela Bay, and if we just look at irregular expenditure of 20 billion rand and all of the peripheral expenditure that could be classified as corruption, it is far greater than the cost of convening such a commission of inquiry. We believe that the cost of convening a commission of inquiry, with all of the available information and evidence that is out there and the ongoing and previous investigations by law enforcement agencies, should not be prohibitive. And this cannot be an excuse for the Premier to run away from dealing with corruption. We will continue to fight corruption, even if the Premier won't, and we will continue to call on the Premier to do so. If the Premier fails to deal with corruption in Nelson Mandela Bay, we will continue to apply pressure through the provincial legislature using various mechanisms, and we will go to Parliament if necessary in the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces.
Ronald, I think many would think that, the DA's concerns here are viewed as maybe playing politics, but what did the Premier say about some of the reports that he and his administration face, about pressures ahead of next year's general election?
So the Premier made it loud and clear that he will not be drawn into politics, and that his main priority is to ensure that the people of the province get the best sort of service delivery, as that has been the priority of the ANC. He says that they will be focusing on building and developing an ethical state. And today he made a huge announcement appointing a crack team. Now, this crack team comprises of individuals who have been working in government here in the province, especially those heads of departments. Now, last week, or a couple of weeks ago rather, when I asked the Premier about media reports that had surfaced that he tried or had suggested that some of the staff within the HODs were fired. And now today we also heard the announcement that some of the HODs that were reportedly axed are people within this crack team, highly skilled individuals who have been assigned to key roles and key areas such as health and education, two areas where the province is grappling with. So this crack team was appointed on the 1st of October and they've been given 12 months to perform their duties. Now, Mabuyane had this to say earlier, also given that there have been reports that there have been a lot of pressures ahead of next year's general elections.
No pressure in our province towards elections. The pressure we have is to serve our people. Simple. That's the pressure we have, and that's what makes me as a premier to have sleepless nights. If our people sleep without water, wake up without water flowing out of the tap, that's the pressure I have. So I really don't have pressure on elections. This is African National Congress that said this country must be transformed into a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic for its prosperity. So we're not going to move around and have sleepless nights, run away from our shadows because there are elections coming. In South Africa, there are elections in each and every 2.5 years deliberately, because this government must be the government of the people, for the people, by the people. So ANC is very easy with that. So I don't think there will be any other ANC leader or a member who will be scared. And you can follow us through. We've been running by-elections in this province, winning them. For that matter, if I was going to be an ANC spokesperson and a speaker, if you force me to do so, I would be telling you that ANC is gunning for something above 70%, because it has done its work. It continues to do its work.
Thank you so much. That was our reporter, Ronald Masinda, just, briefing us on that story there, just giving us an update where the Premier Oscar Mabuyane is being accused of not taking corruption in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro seriously. Of course, the new leadership there being accused, or the allegations of corruption there within those structures.